Welcome, beautiful souls, to another episode of the Spiritual Catalyst podcast, where we talk about all things weird and woo. I am your host, Sarah Lyons, the founder of thenewearthschool.com.au, and today we have the beautiful Shari Thompson with us to talk about how to triple your income using your human design. Shari is a leader in activating business growth and empowerment through the embodiment of human design, with over 23 years of experience in marketing and in entrepreneurship, 5 of which have been dedicated to alignment and energetics. Shari shares a wealth of knowledge, experience, and wisdom. Shari, welcome. I cannot wait to talk about this topic today. This is so exciting.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here and share as well. It's funny listening to you do my bio, because when you say over 23 years experience, my whole body goes, oh, that feels old. That's a long time.
It is, and that tells me you just have so much, knowledge and wisdom to bring to the table, not just in the human design aspect, but for business as well, which is super valuable in this day and age. We're looking for that extra support, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. I just still feel like I'm still 18,
Yeah, I
with
get
a few
it.
life lessons along the way.
So true, so true. Oh my gosh. So I'm going to go out on a whim here and assume that most, if not all, of my listeners are aware of human design, right? It's been around for a while now. I speak about it in my content as well, and it's very easy to hop on to the human design website, get your chart and things like that. So how about we just dive into the guts of this topic, because it's
Yes.
cool.
Yeah, I love that. Okay.
Cool.
I think that with human design, the way that I see it is this: when you know how to use your human design from a place of awareness and embodiment in your business, then you're leveraging the energy that you already have access to.
Mm.
You don't have to figure out which is the right way for you. You don't have to, go and invest in courses without a level of discernment. And that's what it really brings you. All of the courses that you already have, you've got more discernment about what works for me, how this works for me.
Mm.
And it means that you get to use what you already have access to, your pure potent power, to amplify all of the impact and the income that you create in the world.
Yes. Yes, I love that. And, I'm not a human design expert, but the women that come into my containers, I encourage them to go and find out what their human design is, because it is our makeup, it is our soul codes. And it's funny, a lot of people say to me, oh, you launch all the time, you must be exhausted. I'm like, oh, yeah, but I'm coded for this style of strategy in my business, which is why I say any strategy is going to work for you. Pick the one that feels good.
Yes. And it's as simple as that. It's really interesting to me because, I always say I was manually attuning to my human design before I knew about human design. And I was in Bali, and I'd, let go of one business and was really tapping into what does the next business look like, knowing in my heart and soul that it was energetically aligned. This is in 2018, where, there wasn't a lot of talk about energy in business in the online space. And so I really tapped into like quote unquote manually attuning to it for
Yeah.
myself. And it basically looked like that. I'm only going to say yes to what excites me. I'm only going to say yes to what feels good. And at the heart and soul of what human design is, ultimately, it's to do what feels good for you. But within that, it's also to identify where there is resistance or where there is discomfort because you're in alignment and you're in expansion,
Mm.
versus what is out of alignment for you. So I think sometimes that becomes a little bit confusing or a bit slippery
Totally.
because we haven't been taught about this, right? And so we go, yeah, it feels really good until it doesn't, because that's when you're in expansion. And it's supposed to feel uncomfortable when you're in expansion in some ways, in some ways it's not going to feel like this joy. I always say it's not always going to be floating down a rainbow with candy floss and your hair's all perfect and, like having the
Yeah,
time of your life. But it doesn't mean it's not aligned. It doesn't mean that it's not part of your journey. It doesn't mean that that's not what's right for you. So that discernment is super important as well.
it is. And So glad that you said that. I've noticed it with myself in the past. I've noticed it with many clients and potential clients that they know something is in alignment with them. It is a full body yes. Yet, as soon as the uncomfortability after that yes pops up, they start
Yeah.
to question themselves and they recede back in.
Yeah. And
Mm,
that's where your head, because if you think your head, your brain is ultimately trying to keep you safe and
mhm,
to conserve energy, that's its primary function. So when you're going through expansion and you're asked to step into a new comfort zone and get comfortable in the discomfort, your head goes, well, hold up. This is not safe. This is not the best use of our energy. And so it's going to find really clever ways to convince you, oh, you know that alignment thing that you thought you wanted? This is not aligned for you. Are you sure this is aligned? Who told you this is aligned for you? And
mhm.
it will kind of run circles around you because ultimately it's doing its job. And that's where the embodiment piece is so important, because your head has one narrative, but your body has a different narrative.
Mhm.
And because most of us are in the habit of being in our heads, because that's how the world taught us to be, the more that we can reconnect with our body and trust our body, the easier those experiences are.
Yes. Beautiful. So valuable for the listeners to hear. Um, I feel like this is going to activate many women into wondering how many times have they receded from that expansion, and what sort of tips could you give to, without knowing people's human design, but understanding the main types, what sort of tips could you give to a woman who is ready to triple her income? Maybe this is the
Mhm.
first time she's become aware of the expansion, or sometimes we can call it the expansion hangover. What would your recommendations be if someone is ready to expand and grow their income, triple their income? Where would you start with someone?
Yeah, I love this. There's a few things that instantly I would say. The first thing is, if you are aware right now, you're listening to this conversation and you're aware that in the past you have experienced where you've stepped into it, and then it's like, I call it the energetic hokey cokey, like you've stepped
Mhm.
out to do the expansion and then gone, oh no, hold on, this is not aligned, and step back. If you have done that, everyone has done that. You're not alone in that. So have compassion for yourself. This is not
Yes.
like a stick to beat yourself with. It's your awareness now so that you can move forward in a new way, that you get to recognize it. Um, and then I think, the biggest thing, whenever I talk about how to triple your income using human design, it's ultimately really understanding what your type is and how to operate in that strategy. So
Mhm.
your type determines what your auric field is. And your aura is your energetic, I mean, your listeners probably already know this, Sarah, but for the sake of completion, it's the energetic presence that encapsulates everything else in your human design.
Mm.
And whilst human design is fascinating, and we want to get into the depth, because for many people, it's the first time that they've really felt seen and understood with one of these kind of systems. And so it's really like diving into the rabbit hole. I want to get all of the details. I want to get all of the awareness. But the truth is, the most magic that is available to you is in your operating system, in your strategy, how you're designed for your energy to work in the world. Because when you embody your type and your strategy, you are really working with the aura that you have. And that's how the world meets you and responds to you. It's how you operate, like literally your operating system in the world. Most of us have been taught a faulty operating system.
Yeah.
So when we start to do that and we're only saying yes to the things that are aligned
Mhm.
and we're saying no to the things that are not, what happens in our aura is that we're holding everything that we say yes to. So if we're saying yes to things that we should be doing or we think are going to work or that somebody else has got success from, but it's not aligned for us, then our aura actually shrinks. Our capacity in our aura contracts. and you're filling it with things that you don't really want, and the universe is bringing you more of the things that you're saying yes to, even if you don't want them, and you're there going, oh, hold up, I'm doing all the work, I'm doing the energy work, I'm doing the affirmations, I'm taking the action, and the universe is still bringing me all of this. What is going on? The universe on the flip side is high-fiving itself because it thinks it's bringing you everything that you want because you keep saying yes to the things.
Yeah.
And then your head gets involved and basically says, well, I know how you solve this. You're going to get a blueprint. You're going to work harder. You're going to work faster. You're going to do more. And all of that compounds and contracts your aura even more. So actually the most counterintuitive way to triple your income, which is like effective, and I have client results of this so many times over, is when you stop saying yes to the things that you're not aligned with and you start emptying out the things that you've said yes to because you thought you should. Or because you've invested in a course and it's like, I've invested, so now I want to see it through, even if it's not aligned and that strategy is not aligned for you. The best thing you can do is to like do a spring clean, like an energetic reset, and move those things out, with the only caveat that if, for example, the only way that you are making sales in your business and income is coming in is a way that you're not aligned with, please create a bridge. Don't just get rid of it. Like create a bridge.
Exactly.
That will freak your nervous system out.
Totally. Oh, I love this. And I had a question coming through. Okay, cool. So let's talk about maybe one of your client experiences, because I can just imagine, and I see this, it's a recipe for burnout when we're doing those things that we're just not really coded for, right? So I'd love to hear about how maybe one of your beautiful clients was was packing her aura with all those things that weren't good for her, and then shifted that.
Yeah. So the person who comes to mind straight away is my client, Joe. And Joe was doing that, charging by the hour, thinking that the way that you charge by the hour had to be a certain level. And so she was really filling her days with all of these one-to-one clients and just really burnt out. So she came to work with me and knew obviously we were going to be working on business, knew there was going to be human design. She thought we were going to be building funnels and doing ads, which, by the way, I love. And I'm really happy to do that. But that's not where you start with any of this, right? What we did was we spent 3 months having her embody what it meant to be a generator. Within that 3 months, she tripled her income. She made more money than the previous year. I think it's that. I can't, or it might have been the previous 6 months. I can't remember precisely. But anyway, she tripled her income in that 3 months. She was then approached by the NHS, which is in the UK, the National Health System, to create a trauma program for them. She was like approached by loads of people to be a paid speaker. She is now a support role in lots of high profile coaches groups. And she doesn't work the hours that she was working before. She raised her rate. She created group programs. She doesn't work the hours that she was working before. And what is really beautiful about when you embody your human design is it's not only in business, because energy is energy across the board. You're not only aligned in business and then, that's not how embodiment works. So then she also manifested her dream home in 7 weeks in the most unpredictable way. Like every day she would message me and tell me what was happening. And I was in that, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. And of course, that kind of energy. So it was just really critical to see her go through that process. And she's got, certifications and all sorts coming out now. She actually went through my human design certification program as well. And now she integrates nervous system support with human design. And she's really carving a path that's really beautiful to watch and to see, a year later, 2 years later, how that's playing out for her from what can seem like a real simple experience for the brain. But actually, the embodiment is not that. If anyone's been through embodiment, it's a trip, right? I say this is being a hot mess and having it all because it's a real trip. But your brain will say, well, that's really simple. Knowing your strategy is not enough. You need to know all of the gates and all of the planets and all of the placements and all of the things. But actually, if you take anything from what I'm sharing from today, for anyone listening, please embody your strategy, because That is, I mean, even Ra Urahu, who was the guy who downloaded Human Design, he said that 70% of the deconditioning is in your
Wow.
aura. Yeah.
Amazing. So when you're talking about strategy, Shari, for example, I'm a 1-3 mental projector. I believe my strategy is to wait for the invitation. Is that what you mean when you were talking about strategy? It's that part?
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
can run through the strategy if you want, because for projectors, I think wait for the invitation is potentially the most disempowering thing in the world.
A 100%. Totally agree. I have a very different perspective on that.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
And I have, people who come to me who are projectors and saying, how can I run a business when I'm waiting for the invitation? I'm like, hold up, that's not what it means.
No. And
So
it's important to talk about this actually. Yeah.
yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of disempowerment actually in the language around human
Uh-huh.
design. For a tool that is designed for self-empowerment, there's a
Mm.
bit of conflict. So I switch a lot of the things that and how it's
Good.
talked about. So yeah, the strategies, if you're a manifester, your strategy is to initiate and to inform. And that is literally, you get a surge of energy inside of your body. You're not waiting for something outside of you. You get this surge of energy inside of you. And that's when you're in like hyper focus and you're doing it and you've got to talk about it. What I would say is that most manifestors are great at initiating.
Mm-hmm.
Most manifestors that I work with are not always great at informing. So the more that you can inform alongside the initiation, the easier everything else is going to be for you.
Mm-hmm.
Generators and manifesting generators, you're responding, and the response is to respond to something that is outside of you. It's not something that is inside of you. It is not all of your beautiful ideas, because they're all wonderful. If you did them all because they feel great, you would be doing everything all of the time. And that's not what's true. So if you're getting wonderful ideas and downloads and all of these different things, write them down and then wait until you see something that is outside of you that allows that response inside of you to tell you
Mm.
it's the right time to move. So the response is going to feel like excitement, or it's going to feel like butterflies. It's going to feel, maybe you do a like a little gasp. But equally, you're going to get a response that's a no. If you don't feel anything, then it's a no. Please don't act if it's a no, even if your brain does an amazing job at convincing you it's a yes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you follow the response, you will always be in a higher level of magnetism, and you also have the energy to actually do what it is that you're bringing into the world.
Beautiful.
If you are a projector, even if it says wait for the invitation, what I want you to know is that recognition is the most important piece about being a projector. Because if you think about the word projector, it's literally taking something small and making it big. So whatever is inside of you is being projected out into the world. So the more you recognize yourself and your gifts and your genius, and that comes from like the inner work, that doesn't come from the doing work and the proving work. That's not where your genius is. It's in, I recognize my wisdom and my guidance. And then when that gets projected out into the world, people recognize you, and then they'll come and ask you for support. In terms of, the quote unquote invitation in your business, everyone who follows you, everyone who's on your email list, everyone who ever speaks to you, they already did that. They already invited you. So that's it. You're not having to sit around waiting for the invitation.
Totally.
And then reflectors, you're working with the lunar cycle. And that's really important, because when you feel all of the different energy that the lunar cycle brings to you, you get to tap into what is consistent for you. What are you feeling is consistent for you? Now, even though the lunar cycle is 28 days, the more you do this, the more you'll find your own pattern and rhythm with it. But the best thing I can say to you as a reflector is be patient, because if you do wait that 28 days and you follow what is true and aligned for you after that, everything speeds up.
Mm.
Time is an illusion. Don't get sucked into what the world told you is important around time.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah.
I love how you just explained all of those. Just so good. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you. I
Beautiful.
think it's important, because sometimes we can get really caught up in the, what does it really mean? And, some of the language that's used is not helpful for what it means,
Mm-hmm.
even though it is actually literal. The interpretation is kind of skewed along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. True. I love this. Thank you so, so much, Shari. I know we
That's
are, we are not even scratching the surface of where human design could take a person in their life,
Yeah.
in their business. So for those that are listening and their ears are perking up and they would love to learn more, where can they find you?
So my website is thehdbiz.com. And if you go to that website, there's actually a human design chart that you can get, which comes with a report that tells you how to use your energy in your business. And that would be the first place I would send everyone, because if you can understand that, then that's really powerful. And I also have a Facebook group called the Human Design Community, which is where there are loads and loads of videos about what your energy type is, how to use it in your business. There's just so many free resources in there. So that's like a gold mine of resources.
Oh, beautiful. That is so cool. And I will make sure that we pop those links and any other links in the episode details for the listeners. Thank you again so much for being with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. This is really fun.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, beautiful listeners. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a review and following us for more Spiritual Catalyst episodes in the future. Bye.